Oh, hi. Hi for coming. And as you see in the background, I was just observing, checking out my new fancy tiling background. Now, you see the background can be changed like this, or like this, or like this. And of course, you know there is a green screen back there, right? Anyway, but what you see is also that there is a certain repetitive pattern in the background, something that seems to be an element that repeats itself in all directions. And that's what we are going to do today in ComfyUI using GenAI, creating seamless tiles. Now, the thing is, where do we need this seamless tiles? The thing is, you're, for example, a game developer, or you're creating something for textures like for clothes or for, I don't know, for interior design or stuff like this, or even for your own personal website. Everywhere where you need a pattern that should be indefinitely large in all directions, a seamless pattern is needed. So for example, you have a tile, and the tile has a certain shape, or not shape, but yeah, texture, that if you attach it to the left or to the right or to the bottom or top, then it is seamless. There's no visible border because the information repeats itself infinite. But how can we do this in ComfyUI? And well, this is what we will do today. And you will be surprised that a rather older model is something we can use and is also kind of state of the art for this task. So without further ado, start up your Comfy servers and let's go. And here in ComfyUI, we need today 3 requirements to be fulfilled. Now we go here first to the manager, and we need to install 2 custom nodes. The 2 custom nodes are nodes that I already installed. So of course I don't need them to be installed again, but let me just filter them so you can see them quite easily. The one is called ComfyUI Seamless Tiling. Yeah, this node is already, I think it has been updated in April or so. Yeah, there we are. And the other one is called, oh, I just skipped that. There we are. The ComfyUI iTools. Now, iTools, there are different versions. Just install the most basic one. And I will explain it to you later why we need this one, because seamless tiling sounds like it makes more sense, right? But anyway, please install both of them. You need to also refresh or restart your ComfyUI instance, and then everything is installed. Now, the second thing is that we need also a model. And for this, we go to the model manager. And I already filtered the base model is the SDXL. And as a type, I need a checkpoint. And SDXL is Stable Diffusion XL that has been already released several months ago or several years ago. And was like the successor of Stable Diffusion 1.5 and is still a model that people using it to train their custom models and so on. Of course, there are new models like Flux, there is Quen, there is also Huanyan Image and so on. But for our case, we will use the very basic model of Stable Diffusion XL, namely SDXL base 1.0. Save tensors around 7 GB of size. Of course, in the previous video, I showed you how, for example, in CivitAI, you can download other checkpoint models. And for this, well, this is something we will do at the end of the video. So if you want to see or download other models, just skip to the end, see how we download everything, and then skip back to this particular part of the video. Anyway, if you have fulfilled all the requirements, we can basically start with our workflow. And for this, we need to load a checkpoint model. And in this case, I have to zoom in. It's our base model I just downloaded pretty well. Then we are making a movement with the model part to the K sampler. So something you have maybe heard about also before. We make a movement with the clip, and we use the text encode, so the prompt part. We can simply make Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V to copy paste it. And then the conditioning is moving back to the positive part and the negative part. So the upper part is the positive prompt, the lower part is the negative prompt, and then also the latent image that starts here with empty latent image. Now, we can use with Stable Diffusion XL 1024 times 1024 pixels. For the settings, I would suggest to increase the steps, for example, to 30. We will reduce the CFG a little bit to improve the quality a little bit. And the sampler, The different samplers or people also tested, and the DPMPP samplers are kind of nice, especially for the SDXL version. Of course, these are not the only ones, but for example, you can use the 2M version with the Kara scheduler, and you're good to go. Now with the latent image, we move another dot to the VAE decoder, and then the VAE from the left to the right part needs to be connected. And then afterwards, we can, for example, basically save our image, right? That's all. We can save, change maybe the file name prefix, like for example, we call it seamless tile. Press caps lock. Come on, tile. Anyway, I would suggest, the thing is now with Stable Diffusion XL is that it's more, it's a little bit more difficult to create proper prompts than, for example, for Flux or Qwen. Yeah, so these are the first models that were created, and there are also a lot of hacky solutions, like you write something like photorealistic, super quality, I don't know, HDR, and in the negative prompt, you sometimes write something like bad quality, low quality, and stuff like this. So the wording of, prompt engineering makes kind of sense in this case. Now here, for example, what we want to do, we want to make some patterns, and one of the words that always work kind of good is the word texture. So we can, for example, say we want to have a plain wood texture, for example. And if we just run all these things, then this takes a few seconds only, we have a wood texture. Now, of course, you will not believe me that this part is the repetitive part of this part, right? How can we do this to see if this looks a little bit seamless or not? Well, for this, we can go make a double click, and we search for something called the grid filler, the iTools grid filler. And the iTools is the one thing we just installed as well. So this particular node here, we move image to image. We have the width and height adjusted to 1024 pixels, as we did in the empty latent space. The rows, let's make it 5 times 5, and we don't want to have any gaps between the images, so we put this value here to 0. And then afterwards, we also create, for example, maybe a preview image. We don't need the combination of the tiles being stored, only a single tile. We can then later use it to stitch everything together in Photoshop, in PowerPoint, or what have you. Now let's rerun it. Our seed is randomized, so we get a different image this time. And well, let's have a look if this is seamless or not. And I would say in this particular case, it doesn't seem so. We see here the border, the upper part does not correspond well with the lower part. We have here this breaking lines. It looks like something you would do with the wooden floor, right? It's not particularly good, I would say. So yeah, we can rerun this again. So this doesn't seem very right. And if we zoom in again, we see here this line breaks, especially at this part here. Now along the y-axis should be also somewhere there. Like, here it also doesn't look very convincing. But we are not finished yet, right? We want to make a seamless tile, and for this we need 2 more nodes. The one node is we will search for the wording seamless tile, and this is here the seamless tile. You see a model is an input, a model is an output, so we put it here. Let's zoom in a little bit, and we put the model part from the checkpoint to the seamless tile part, and the model part back to the case sampler. Let's move the node a little bit up so we see that it actually has been connected. Perfect. And we want the tiling to be enabled. So this is the first thing we need. The other thing is we need to replace the variational auto encoder or VAE decoder part of the variational auto encoder. So double click, and this time it's called something the circular VAE decode tile. So we click here, and then we can move the latent part here to the samples and the VAE part from the checkpoint to the VAE part, and then the image, we replace it to the iTools grid filler and the save image. And this part here can simply be deleted because you don't need it anymore. Very well, we have all our parts fixed together. We use Stable Diffusion XL, we have our 2 extensions that we use, and we can click on run and see what happens. And there we are. We have another wood pattern. And here on the right side, we have all these things stitched together to the left and to the right part. And the cool thing is now we don't see any break now in between, right? So there's like no, of course you see there's a repetitive pattern and you have the feeling that somewhere there is like the repetition border, but there is no hard cut at these borders, right? We can now attach all these tiles in all directions and as many as we want. We can really rerun this script, for example, a few times to see how other wood tiles look like. So this is another example. It also looks seamless, I would say. This one is a little bit more exotic, so it also looks, we don't see hard cuts or so, but we have the feeling, of course, of these tiles because, again, a repetitive pattern means that a certain pattern is repeating itself. Now we can also replace it, for example, let's call it, I don't know, light gray asphalt texture, asphalt. Oh, geez, I'm a little bit, I have some difficulties writing text today, I presume. Could also write down tarmac or so. Let's click on run and see what happens in this case. Well, there's not really tarmac. Again, as I said, Stable Diffusion XL is a little bit sometimes clumsy in interpreting the images. Yeah, and this could be tarmac. It's more like concrete, I would say, but at least it's something more, yeah, maybe it's a little bit less convincing that it's tarmac. What we can also do is, let's write down colorful abstract wave texture, for example. Let's see what happens now. I didn't test this prompt so far, so let's see. And whoa, this looks a little bit exotic, a little bit broken also here, but we see here on the right side that this thing, it looks like something that could be printed and put into the waiting room of a doctor's office, I would say, but this is really seamless. This is seamless seamless tiling. So I think there is no question about this one. Yeah, we can also go back here, colorful abstract polygon, let's say polygon texture. So let's see if we have something like this now. And let's see what happens. Yeah, okay, also a little bit. Yeah, as again, Stable Diffusion XL is an older model, but it still checks out. And you can see we have here the seamless patterns. And now I would suggest to show you how we can improve the results. And this is a task for you then, I would say. For this, we go again to CivitAI.com, as I showed you in one of my previous videos, and we go to models. And here in models, I already filtered it properly by a checkpoint type. So this is the first important thing. Then you can go down here to the base model and say SDXL 1.0. And then you can filter by, for example, the most downloaded models or what have you. Now in this very example, Juggernaut XL is one of the most sophisticated models for Stable Diffusion XL. However, they ask you for a business usage license, so you have to be careful that you are not violating any licenses. Let's go maybe here to the Dream Shaper XL model. We see here the base model is 1.0. It is already over 2 years old. And then also, if you go to show more, always search for something if you have some license issues. Now there's like the non-commercial license being cut out, but the other license here on the right hand side is the Open Rail license. So be always careful when we talk about licenses, but of course you can in your free time as a hobby person test these things out. Now here the SDXL is the base model we just used, and also RealViz XL is also a good model. Let's see what we have here. It's from 2024. And if we are now also searching, maybe I should click on more. Search for the license part, then we see it's also the Open Rail license. And I think there are no other information in this regard. Now, also some recommendations about the prompts and sampling methods and so on. And these other things, I just wanted to show you that you can use the other models to improve things. Oh, and by the way, another small information I would like to share is go to the image part of CivitAI, search, for example, for patterns or textures. On the left-hand side, you can filter then for SDXL 1.0, and then you have different results regarding textures. Of course, not always. Yeah, it's not 100% perfectly tagged or so. We have here some patterns and textures. Just search for the results you'd like. Now, this is very repetitive. I don't think this is now very convincing in this regard. And sometimes we have here images of dragons, but here we have, like, for example, a pattern or texture. Well, these topics are not maybe that fancy for the people, right? They want to see some very nice, bright images, and textures is maybe a very specific part. But here, if you like this particular pattern, for example, you have here on the right-hand side all the models that have been used and also the corresponding positive and negative prompts and other metadata. So just take a look at all the additional information on CivitAI. And I would like to thank you for watching this video and see you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching today's video, and I would really like you to subscribe and also like our video and also give us feedback if you have any comments or ideas for improvements. So we try to make videos, ComfyUI videos, and also other content, especially for creatives like marketing agencies, architects, and so on. So if you are from this particular domain and something is missing, something is too technical, or you would like to get more details, just write us and support this uprising community. See you next time.